Okay, YouTubers, so we've been whacking at this thing with the grinder. And, I don't know if you have noticed, I got a little extra box here. And, that's because the, grinder has one speed, which is wide open. And I videoed it, but I didn't put it up, about the cutters I got from my friend. They're 8 inches long. And for some reason they don't get along with that Harbor Freight grinder. They actually bent one. It's just like this, but it's 8 inches long, so the burr is way up here. And it bent it. I used it fine for one time, and then put it down. And when I picked it up again, I didn't bend it or anything putting it down. It was just like this. And when I started it up, it started getting a small vibration, which turned into a huge one. And as soon as I turned it off, that thing was bent almost 90 degrees out the side. So, I think a couple of problems. I think because it was so long, this thing just can't grab it good enough, and plus I think because it was only wide open, there was no slower speed. I think that had a little bit of attributing factor there. But we're clearancing. I've taken out a little more than I probably need, especially over here where the rod nut goes. I took out quite a bit there. I'm kind of doing that on a little bit of purpose because there is always the idea of, an 86 stroke. So, hoping that I can get most of this kind of done with the clearance already pre-built there. The cases, where they're thin at, is up in here. And I blew through right here. And probably my next area I'm going to end up blowing through is right in here. I had a gentleman in Orlando, R&S Performance Scooter, did me a motor back in like 03, I think it was, and it was a 82 by 94 with Berg rebuilt Volkswagen rods. And same thing happened. He had to clearance quite a bit because it was a Volkswagen Journal on a stock. Basically, Berg clears like nothing off the rods, just a little bit, and which is good. It makes it strong, but it ended up getting really thin up in this area, right behind the distributor and right behind the oil cooler, right where this little, there's a channel here for the bolt. And you can see I put JB Weld over it, because I did put a little window in there. The light's not going to focus. Alright, well, there's like a little groove there for the bolt, for the socket and the nut. And that's actually what poked through a very, very tiny hole. I don't even think you can see it if you wanted to. Actually, yeah, you can see it when I put my hand up like this, right there. See the black spot? That's the little bitty hole. It was one of those things, too. Like, that's not even a spot I really needed to clear right there. I needed more clearance right in the midsection is where this actually wants to hit the rod. So you're probably thinking, man, why in the world you got to clearance so much, It's because I'm not using the stroker rods. I'm going to be using the stock rods, and I'll probably make a video about that and that whole dilemma later on. But for right now, that's just what I got to go where the quality is, and that's where the quality is. So the crank fits in here pretty good. I'm going to have to clearance the cam quite a bit, but for those guys ever thinking about, oh my god, I can't clearance a case, this is not rocket science. It is time consuming. That's what it really is. Because you put the crank in here with one rod on. I guess you could do all the rods if you wanted, but I'm doing it one at a time. And, you mark out where the rod's going to hit. Try and keeping it in the center of the board, which would be pretty much, if you look at it, center of the crankshaft. You don't have to do any crazy math. I'm going to also put the cylinders in there with a piston in it and run it through a cycle all the way around, on this half of the case, and then do the same thing on the other half of the case. But I'm doing one rod completely at a time, so it's just really time consuming. I made this one clear, and then I went to the other side of the other case, made that one clear, and now I went to this side, did this rod, which is number 1, that one there is number 3, and so got number 1 to clear, made a small window, but that's not really in a structural spot. That's just kind of cosmetic. Obviously you don't want to lose any more material than you take. The bottom of the rod wanted to really hit right here on this. And, I was looking at cases that are pre-clearanced. And I was quite amazed at how much they take out. You know, I mean, like I say, I went way bigger here than I really needed to do. And they go even bigger than what I did, you know. And then this area is always took out pretty good. And then everything's milled pretty much like that on all of them. And you don't really need that. If you notice, this is shallower than this one. I got a little crazy with that one. I don't know. Getting late. But anyways, guys, it's starting to happen. I'm going to try and keep at least, my goal is hopefully a rod a night. You know, so hopefully by sometime next week I will have the case clearanced, and then we'll start on clearancing the camshaft. It's not that big a deal. You could take it into a machine shop and they could turn it into lay. You can buy a pre-clearanced one, or you can do what I'm going to do is just grind some flats on the shaft of the cam. You're not going to be messing with the lobes, because then you lose lift, obviously. But we'll look over here. You know, look at all this disaster of aluminum. Aluminum's going to be flying everywhere, so you got to do this in some area you don't care. My little shed, hurricane supplies, and you know, this is the place that's always messy. So not that my garage is not messy, but I can't do it because everybody's sleeping in there. So this is 100 foot away from the house. This is pretty good and quiet here. But I got to do this cylinder next, I believe. So I got to do number 4 is my next one. So I'm going to have to take the rod off and move it to number 4. Start on that tonight. And hopefully everybody's doing good. Try and keep some videos as I go on this. And sorry for the little delay. Life happens. And then some other stuff. Like I say, we'll probably talk about the reason we're changing some parts here in a little bit. But we'll try and get some stuff dealt with first. So I'll talk to you guys later, and have a good night.